But now, should we let civil servants work a 4-day week? 0207 862 2222 is the number. Get those calls in now for this. Staff at the Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs are asking to work one less day every week while remaining on the same pay. They say that a 3-day weekend would give people a better quality of life, as they'd have 1 day for chores, 1 day for fun and 1 day for rest. That does sound quite nice. Their union claimed that they would actually save the taxpayer millions of pounds a year as well, as it would mean fewer sick days and staff resignations. But the request has caused outrage from farmers after the Chancellor's inheritance tax raise. So let's start by asking our resident farmer here. Wilfred, what's your view on a 4-day working week for DEFRA?
I could imagine that a lot of farmers up and down the country are so annoyed with this, because I would have said anyhow that they're doing a 4-day week now. Because anybody that deals with the civil service will know it is incompetent, it's slow, it's a real mess. And the big problem that I think that we have with the sort of civil servants is that if I do a bad job, there will be a consequence. There are too many people within the civil service where there is no consequences of actually having doing an ineffectual job. And I think this idea that they are going to be more efficient by working less hours is a height of madness. What I want to see is what Trump did by getting an Elon Musk type in this country that's going to go out and sort out some of these inefficiencies. Because in any dealing that I've ever had to do anything with civil service, it takes far too much time, it's overcomplicated, and it needs to be streamlined. And we should be getting away from this idea that your employer is responsible for your well-being. You're at work to do a job. Your well-being is your responsibility, and this sort of stuff is really starting to irritate me. When you're in a business, you should be responsible for your member of staff well-being. If they've got a problem with well-being, they shouldn't be doing that actually job. They should be going to do something that they love and like.
I mean, there is a bit of irony in the fact that DEFRA's asked for a 4-day week when actually farmers notoriously work 7 days a week. And so you can understand maybe the anger towards that request.
Yeah. It's a sort of particularly sensitive and febrile time for farmers. Within that debate, it is nuanced, I think, anyway.
You're not going to agree that 4 days a week is okay, are you?
No. Do you know what? I think the timing is pretty off. What I will say is civil servants, it's become a sort of buzzword for people just to dismiss this sort of... Do you remember when people used to call people like me the blob? And do you remember that? There was that whole thing about the blob. And
They'll call you the blob. Why would they call you the blob?
No, not me personally. But what I'm saying is people get buzzwords for things that they don't like, that they rail
But you think
against.
civil service are efficient?
Well, you're talking about 500,000 people.
Exactly, 500,000 people.
Yeah, so you're talking in such vague terms. So what I'm trying to say is you shouldn't just write off the civil service. It's dangerous to do that.
No,
it's like saying that all journalists are this or all
But hold on, do you
media
think
is
that
this?
4 days a week could make somebody more productive? Do you think
Potentially.
that fitting 5 days worth of work into 4 days
I think it very much depends on the business. There are studies that have been done that actually have proved increased productivity. And in some instances, for some businesses, increased growth and increased profit, which I find really fascinating. Now, in America, they work you to the ground. You get this is sort of broadly speaking, the culture. You get 2 weeks off a year or something like that, and people half die. It's pretty bad. There's no quality of life if you work in the city in the States.
Jemma, look, you're a hard worker.
Yes, I am.
You work really hard.
I do.
You don't have the luxury of just working 4 days a week, do you?
No, but I'm also not within that job and within those parameters. So you're right, I'm freelance, I don't get any sick pay, I don't get any maternity pay, but I don't moan about people that might get that within the job
So what I'm trying to say, you work hard, okay, and so the civil servants are protected, very, very, very protected.
Yes.
And the idea that your money, that you're working hard, is going to pay their salaries and their conditions.
That's not how I view
But that's the reality,
life.
and their conditions are better than yours.
No, but I don't like whataboutery. So on Sunday I'll get up at 4:30 in the morning and go to work, but I might get a Thursday off. It's comparing apples with pears. There's a civil servant I know very well who works in behaviour change and everything, and she works hideously hard. It's so hard, and not huge amounts of money either, and really struggles to make everything work. I just feel like have a little bit more compassion about life as we know it, and perhaps there is a discussion to be had about a lot of people I know are sort of heading towards burnout. Is that productive in society?
Okay. I just want to get to calls now. Anne from Hertfordshire, what's your view on this one? Do you think you can work a 4-day week and be more productive trying to fit everything from a 5-day week in it?
No, I feel they want to work a 32-hour week for a 40-hour pay. They just want a longer weekend to skip doing their job. And they're taking home documents that are sensitive documents, taking them home to their houses, and other family members could see them, and they shouldn't be doing that sort of thing.
Well, that's a different debate, because we're not talking about working from home here. We're talking about being in the office 4 days a week. Now, there have been studies done.
5 days, they get paid to be in the office 5 days a week.
Yes, but hear me out.
5 days a week.
There are studies that have been done that show that we are not productive for the full 8 hours or however long you spend in the office, that quite a lot of the time is spent fiddling about on your social media. Quite a lot of time is spent having your cigarette breaks, having your coffee breaks. In fact, there's been studies recently done to show how many holidays that would give you a year if you added up all your coffee breaks. Now, if your boss said to you, I want to get rid of all of that sort of useless time. I want you to work to the bone for 4 days and I'll give you 3 days off. You're not getting any less productivity. In fact, you're getting more productivity per day out of the individual, and you're getting just as much work done in that week. Surely that benefits everybody.
In some cases it might do, but I feel sorry for other people like shop workers, doctors, people like that can't do a 4-day week.
Okay, and thank you very much
for... Have to do a 5-day week.
I've got you.
7 days a week.
If not everybody can do it, then it's unfair that some people are allowed to. And thank you very much for your call. Well, there's lots of employers that have made a 4-day week work. One of them is Taylor Grange Environmental Consultancy, and we can speak now to their managing director. This is John Berry. John, today is actually your day off work, isn't it? So how is the 4-day week?
On a Friday, obviously, Friday.
Well, why would you not? Friday or a Monday?
Long weekend, is it?
Well, how is it working for your company?
Yeah, it's been a real success for us. I would say from the start, it isn't for everyone. It was hard work. It was 4 years in the making, but I say we are now 2.5 years in, and we're still 30% more productive. And we've seen a reduction in absence through sick leave of about 70%. So, effectively, we've got a happier, healthier and more effective team.
What made you start this trial? What made you go for it in the first place?
We started looking at this in about 2018, and we realised that we were working incredibly hard. And actually, we were putting work before life. And we thought, something needs to change. We were seeing burnout, and it was becoming a big issue. I mean, as you've already sort of mentioned, burnout in the UK last year cost the economy about 32 billion. Losing people through burnout affects businesses, it affects productivity, it affects morale. And we said, we've got to do something about this. At the same time, we then saw how effective people working part-time were. So mums coming back from work, balancing family life and working life, being incredibly effective and incredibly efficient. We're like, there's something behind this. We need to explore this further. And that's when the 4-day discussions were born, and we decided to undertake a trial. And after the 6-month trial, I mean, every metric we'd recorded was positive. So we've just continued.
Okay, do you think this would work for every organisation though?
Not necessarily in the same way. I think, firstly, you've got to look at the culture of the organisation. What's the working culture? How's it structured? For us, everybody in the business has 1 day a week off, and it's Friday, and that works best for us. Other businesses and organisations have considered shift patterns, looking at it over 2 weeks, looking at it over a month. I mean, ultimately, the 4-day week is a bit of a buzzword. For me, every business and organisation just needs to look at its processes and its structure and ask, are you working the best way you can? Are you working efficiently and as productive as you can? Or do you need to review that? Can you work smarter and better, which will enable you to be a better business and organisation?
All right, John Berry there, thank you very much for your time from Taylor Grange Environmental Consultancy. I'm going to go back to the calls now. James from Cheshire, what's your view on a 4-day working week?
My view is, like the man you've just had on, he is in a private business, yeah? I'm looking at your headline here that's about civil servants. It's equal to getting a 20% pay rise.
Okay. Well, is it if you're putting in the same amount of work, you're just condensing it into 4 days? Is that getting a 20% pay rise, or is it just increasing efficiency?
Nobody can tell me that they can work better at home in a pair of slippers and a dressing gown.
Oh, no, James. I think we're getting. I think again we're getting confused between working from home and a 4-day working week. You may not. I mean, unless you go into work into the office in a dressing gown or in slippers. I'm not sure. That's totally up to you and your boss. But we're talking about people going into the office and doing their shift in the office for 4 days, and the other day they have completely free.
I'm looking at your headline again. I'm talking civil servants.
Yes.
So the trouble is as well now, the cost of living is so great that many people can't afford to live anywhere near their home. A lot of the working week is spent travelling on a transport system that isn't really very good, train delays and so on. This chap is correct. A lot of that is quite stressful.
Can I come in here? Because I run a business. I used to have people working from home, and it turned out to be the most inefficient thing that we could do. Because what I think everybody's getting confused about, work is not just about doing a task.
But this isn't about working from home.
I think that's what I was trying to clear out with James.
And I would say work in the office. You get more done working from the office, because working is not just about doing the task. Actually, it's also understanding what's going on, having those nuances, having those sort of conversations. And a simple example is this. The biggest challenge I have with young people is that they're sending everything by email. It's the biggest frustration that they have. You can pick up the phone or talk to someone.
You had a couple of frustrations there. None of them were about a 4-day week. They were about young people and working from home.
They're all even together 5 days a week in the same place is what I would be advocating.
All right, James, thank you very much for your call. Colin from Towbridge, what's your view on this? Colin. Stowbridge, sorry. Colin, what's your view on this discussion? Should we all be working a 4-day week? I don't know whether that's possible for me, but Colin.
Of course, they should be working a 5-day week. Hello, can you hear me?
I can now, yes. So of course they should be working 5 days a week.
Yes, absolutely, they should be working a 5-day week, possibly a 6-day week, because they are idle. All they want is an easy life.
So general.
In general, doctors, none of them put a full shift in. None of them do. And
none of the 500,000 people? Not one?
Why I found up on this subject of working 4-day week, it was tied up with Brexit, to be honest with you. I know what. Because Brexit, they don't want to. The civil servants, the idle people, and politicians, they were determined for Brexit not to work. I know we've discussed Brexit and you don't want to talk about it. But
I'm worried. I'm wondering where the connection is.
Also, how do you know that 500,000 people, what they voted?
Culture to work in the civil service. You have to have a certain attitude.
Civil service, they do not do a full shift. Politicians do not do a full shift.
Yes, they do.
Most of these, they do not. In actual fact, the lady there in the red, she's on about
Jemma.
People haven't got any, since Brexit, people haven't had any advantage to not joining the European market. My view, my remembrance of Europe and why we should be tied up with it, they are never there when we need them. Okay. For instance, Falklands, Belgium refused to sell ammunition to us.
Actually, what you're doing now, Colin, is you are going on to a completely different subject. I was wondering where the connection between Brexit and a 4-day working week is, but I think it is just your view that all civil servants and all politicians to work.
Many politicians work really, really hard from all the political parties as well. It's just sort of facetious and silly to say that they don't. They do.
But Colin, thank you very much for your call, for all your calls on that later.